So today we'll have a look at percentages. Okay, so percentages can be written in this way, all right, where this symbol is used to represent a percentage. Okay, and percentage is essentially saying a number over 100, right? Number over 100. So 60% is the same as saying 60 over 100. It's basically a proportion. A percentage is basically a proportion of a number, all right? Where 100 over 100 is a whole, right? Which is essentially 100%. Okay, now you can get a decimal and you can convert a decimal to a percentage. Okay, this is done by simply multiplying by 100, right? So 0.25 times 100, we move this point 1 and 2 because 100 has two zeros, okay, which will give you 25%. And we can get fractions. For example, this 5 over 10, okay, can be written as 50%. Okay, to convert between a fraction and a percentage, you do the same thing with that you did with the decimal. You times by 100. Okay, so 5 over 10, right? Sorry, uh, 5 over 10 times 100. Okay, the zeros cancel out and you're left with 50. Okay, that's 50%. Right. Now, percentages can be used like percentages can be used to find a proportion of a certain number, right? And to explain this, let's look at an example. Okay, let's say you get a village, right? There's a population in a certain village, okay, and you want to find the number of a certain population. Let's say the number of males or the number of females in a village, right? And you give in, let's say, okay, a village has a population of, let's say, 2,000, right? Right? I'm sure that's I know that's a bit more upper hand of population, but let's say that. Okay, and 40% are male. How many males are there? Okay, now we know, let me use a different color here, right? We know that 40%, okay, oops, 40% is the same as saying 40 over 100, right? And we're given the population of 2,000. So essentially, we're finding the number of males, okay? And 40% are males. So 40%, okay, of 2,000 will give you the number of males, okay? So this can be rewritten as 40 over 100 times 2,000, okay? Let's cancel the zeros out and you're left with 40 times 20, which is 800, right? And that is the number of males in that village. Okay, now you can use percentages to increase or decrease certain values. All right, so let's look at an example of increasing a certain value. Okay, let's say there's a person called John. Okay, this person has a salary, a monthly salary. Okay, and next month his salary is going to increase by a certain percentage. Okay, let's write that down. Okay, John salary. Okay, let's say he has a salary of $5,000, $5,000. Okay, a month, and next month his salary is going to increase by 5%, right? He gets a pay rise of 5%, or let's say 4% actually. Okay, what is his new salary? Right, so what are we given? We know that his current salary is $5,000. All right, next month he's going to increase by 4%. A 4% increase. What is his new salary? Okay, now I'll show you two ways to do this. Okay, so the first way is to find 4% of 5,000. Okay, this will give you a certain proportion. Okay, the 4%. And to find his new salary, you would add this to his original salary. Okay, so 4% of 5,000 is the same as saying 4 over 100 times 5,000. And you get, let's cancel these zeros, and you get 4 times 50, which is 200. Alright, so this is not his final salary. This is how much the salary will increase by. Right, so his final salary, his new salary, right, will be 5,000, which is his original salary, plus 200, which will give you 5,200. All right, now I'll show you another method of increasing a value by a certain percentage. Okay, let's say, not let's say, we'll use the same example, right? So like before, let me use a different color this time. Okay, like before, his salary is $5,000. All right, and it's going to increase by 4% next month. So we know that a whole percentage, this $5,000 is, let's say, 100%. This is the whole value. Okay, now we want to increase this value by 4%. So we say 100, which is this percent here, plus 4, which is this here, will give you 104%, right? And 104% is the same as saying 104 over 100. And if you multiply this by 5,000, okay, it will give you, let's say, cancel the zeros out, right? 104 times 50 is 5,200. Right, now if you notice, this is the same answer we got in the previous method of doing this, right? So what we did here, we said that the increase that we have, we simply added this to 100, right? And that will give you 104%. So if they said it was a 6% increase, we would say 106% multiplied by the original price, and that will give you the final salary that he would get. Okay, all right, now let's look at an example where we are going to reduce a certain amount, right, by a certain percentage. Right, now let's say you're walking in the mall, you come across a shoe shop, and there's a poster outside that says 20% off all shoes, right? You're excited, you go in and you want to buy a pair of shoes. Okay, so let's say a shoe shop. Okay, let me just write this down. Right, has a shoe shop has a sale of 20%, okay, on all its products. Okay, you find a nice pair of shoes that, let's say, is worth $80, right? So what is the final price you would pay, right, for a shoe worth $80? Right, I'm assuming $80. I'm just going to take the average price. I'm sure that's the average price, right? So basically what you're given here is that the original price, right, the original price of the shoe is $80, right? And its reduction or discount, right, is 20%. Okay, so what is the final price you're gonna pay? What is the final price you're gonna pay? All right, now let's find 20%, which is 20 over 100, times 20% of 80, right, of the original price. You're finding 20%. So this would be equal to, let's cancel out the zeros, and you get 16. All right, so this is not the final price of the shoe. This is the price by which it would reduce, right? It is not the final price. Okay, so to find the final price, you would say 80, which is the original price, okay, minus 16, which is the reduction, which is the 20%. This 16 is essentially the 20% that we are removing. Okay, and you get 80 minus 16 is 64, right? Yeah, okay. And you get $64. That is the final price you're going to pay for this shoe. Now, this was one method of looking at it. Now, I'm going to show you another method of how to approach the same question. Okay, so now we're given that, well, it's the same question, right? So we're given the original price. The original price is $80. Okay, and the reduction again is 20%. Is 20%. Now we know that this $80 is essentially the same as 100%. It is the whole value. It is the whole value. So that's 100%, right? And we know that this 20% is how much it's going to reduce by. So 100, right? 100 to pay the final price, you're going to say 100, which is the whole, minus the 20%, which is the reduction, and this will give you 80%. All right, so what this is that you are going to be paying this 80% of the original price. All right, so let's get that 80%, right? 80% is 80 over 100 times $80. Okay, let's cross out the zeros, right? And you get 8 times 8 is 64. Now you can see that this 64 is the exact same number we got in the previous way of doing it, right? So this is what you're going to be paying. Okay, so now I'm going to look at a final example just to like finish this all off. All right, so I'm just going to place this down here. Okay, so now this example says you buy a second-hand bicycle for $200. This price is 20% less than the original price. What was the original price of the bicycle? All right, so we can see that the price you pay is $200. All right, this is 20% less than the original price, right? So you have a reduction of 20%. Okay, and the original price is what we need to find, right? What is the original price? Okay, so we can see that this is 20% less, obviously, because you're buying a second-hand bicycle, so it's going to be less, right? So the original price is essentially saying 100%, right? Because that's a whole. You're going to reduce it by 20%, which is a reduction, to get you $200, right? So let's say 100% minus 20%, and you will get 80%. Okay, so 80%, which is essentially saying 80 over 100, right, of the original price, let's just call it OP, right, will give you the price that you are going to pay. Okay, so 80% is what you're going to pay, right? Let's solve all of this, right? Let's multiply everything by 100, right? You multiply by 100 here, you multiply by 100 here. Okay, you're left with 80, right, times the original price is equal to 20 to 100, which is 20,000. Okay, and then to get the original price, you divide both sides by 80. Okay, let me just come up here. So the original price that you need to find, that this question is asking you, will be, let's cancel out these zeros. All right, so you're left with 2,000 divided by 8, right? And you get 250. Oops, let me just 250. Okay, so the original price that the person bought it for was $250. Okay, so if you have any questions below, if you have any questions, please feel free to ask below in the comment section. And thank you.